But I'm now joined by the Thomas Aquinas of Lawyers for Britain and member of the Star Chamber, Martin Howe, not to tell us about how many angels can dance on the head of a pinhead, but to explain some of the problems the Star Chamber sees with this bill.
Well, the main problem in the bill, as you have already mentioned, is that it's actually, it asserts the supremacy of Parliament, which is good, and it asserts it over international law. But the actual provisions of the bill are extremely narrow. What they do is they, in effect, reverse the Supreme Court's judgment, which said that Rwanda is, in general, a potentially unsafe place for migrants who are sent there, and requires our courts to treat Rwanda as being safe in general. So it's as if the Supreme Court had gone the other way. But the problem is that is not the only problem that prevents migrants being sent to Rwanda. In parallel with that big case, Rwanda is unsafe, the whole scheme must be stopped, there have been numerous individual claims on all sorts of different grounds by individual applicants who have put forward, a huge variety, personal medical issues, private and family life claims, and those are not restricted by the bill. So those will continue.
But overturning the Supreme Court is a proper role of Parliament. Parliament is the ultimate arbiter of law, and saying Rwanda is safe is a reasonable thing for Parliament to decide. But haven't we always in this country allowed individuals, right back to Magna Carta, a right of individual appeal? No man shall be denied justice.
Well, here what we're talking about is people who have chosen to enter the country illegally, against our will, against our laws. And I think what one is not saying they shall have no rights, but one is saying they should be removed to Rwanda, and then whatever claims they have can then be dealt with.
And it's fair to say that people who've come here unlawfully, illegally, should have different rights from British citizens.
Indeed. I think that's a very powerful point. The idea that you set on our shores illegally and you have exactly the same rights as a citizen who is here, or born here, or here at any rate here perfectly legally, is not sound.
So what you're saying about the bill is that it asserts the supremacy of Parliament quite rightly. It overturns the Supreme Court decision quite rightly, in line with our Constitution. But then it doesn't give that any practical effect, so the courts could still be ruling on potentially hundreds of cases, if not thousands of cases, until kingdom come.
I think it's not fair to say it doesn't give it any practical effect, because reversing the Supreme Court decision is an important thing to unclog the
so that's good.
Complete blockage. Indeed.
So it makes sense to get it into committee and see if you can improve it, rather than trying to stop it at the second reading stage.
Well, I'm not going to talk about the politics of whether whether it's best to stop it at second reading or onwards. But the problem with the bill is that it would require, I think, a radical rewrite to make it properly effective. I can't see any easy, quick amendments that could be done to it.
And there's the issue of Article 39, where the European Court has a claimed right, never agreed by this country, to issue effectively injunctions. This bill says that ministers will be able to ignore those, but it doesn't say that ministers will be able to break international law. Is that a problem?
The problem here is actually the Rule 39 indications, as they are. They're actually indications. They're not injunctions, although people have been talking about them as injunctions and treating them as if they're binding. The better view is they're actually not binding in international law. However, the government legal service and people who seem to worship the Strasbourg court seem to take the view that they should be treated as binding. And the real problem we have is that I think this bill, if implemented, will be shortly followed by a lot of individuals petitioning the Strasbourg court. There will be Rule 39 indications issued, and the government has to have the the toughness of saying we're going to disregard them.
And overruling the government legal service, which wants to follow them.
Yes, indeed.
Right, so the government may not be so much bound as egg bound. Anyway, thank you very much, Martin.